Yo, what's up everyone? Welcome back to an episode of Inside Lines. My name is Jet. Let's get into it. Kyle Busch, he has been on the microscope for numerous months talking about what his sponsor is going to be when he goes over to Richard Childress Racing. Now, the issue I have with a lot of people that have ran this story, because I feel like they're saying Kyle Busch is getting new sponsors, which is not the case. Which is no surprise, is going to be the same sponsors that ran the 8 car last year. Cheddar's, Lenovo, Alsco, MGM. And also 3Chi will continue sponsoring the number 8 car, including sponsoring Kyle Busch. Now, for some reason, there are other people on the internet that trying to fake a story as if there's this connection that, you know, Kyle Busch, RCR getting sponsorships shows that Joe Gibbs Racing didn't care. I don't believe that. People forget that there is a difference between Richard Childress Racing and Joe Gibbs Racing. With Joe Gibbs, they have one main sponsor covering for that car. You look at the 11, FedEx, the 18, M&M's, the 19, Bass Pro Shops, and the 20, DeWalt. There's always that one main anchor sponsor that covers everything for the team. So when Joe Gibbs Racing lost M&M's, I'm not saying that they didn't try. I don't think they tried, to be honest with you, to keep Kyle Busch. I do believe they really let Kyle Busch go. But it's a lot harder to find a brand new sponsor to cover for everything rather than you look at Richard Childress Racing. They had a plethora of sponsors. You can also count, Realtree, Hulk Fishing. There are so many other sponsors that Richard Childress had that they could bring those sponsors together to help create a 36 race schedule for all of these sponsors. So it was a lot easier for Kyle Busch to go to RCR, where they've already had a plethora of sponsors available that are connected to the 8 car, not just the driver, that are connected to the 8 car. It would have been a lot easier to go there rather than stay at Joe Gibbs Racing to find a whole brand new sponsor to come into the sport. That's why I don't understand this ideology that people are saying that Kyle Busch has a brand new sponsor. It's like, no, you idiots. It's the same sponsor that the 8 car ran last year. Sorry, I just need to get that off my chest. But no surprise to see those sponsors come back. I'm pretty sure everyone knew that these sponsors weren't returning. I don't think anyone expected a new sponsor coming to the sport. Although there was this interesting little thing going on between him and Sling TV, but it looks like that has not come to fruition. But one thing has changed that surprised a lot of people, and that is the number of the 8 car. We know the number of the 8 car that ran with Reddick and Daniel Hemrick for 1 year in 2019, but now a whole new 8 number has been unveiled. And it's interesting, and to be honest, I kind of like it. It's much more sharper, more intimidating than the 8 car. The 8 car, the original 8 car, in my opinion, just looked weird. I know they had to change it because Teresa owns that microgramma font of the 8 car, but I like this new 8 car. It fits Kyle Busch, in my opinion. And no surprise, RCR usually puts out banger paint schemes, and this one's no different with Cheddar Scratch Kitchen. Puts out an absolute banger of a paint scheme, and I am so excited to see what Kyle Busch can do for that race team in 2023. I think he's going to have a second coming. I feel like the last few seasons of Joe Gibbs Racing has just been like Kyle Busch teetering off, and I feel like this, having a fresh new start, I could see it something maybe like what we saw with Kevin Harvick and RCR. Kevin Harvick and RCR, we knew that Harvick was better than where RCR was, and as soon as he went to Sewer House Racing, won a championship. We know that 8 car is capable of contending for a championship. We saw that with Reddick. Won, 3-4 races last year? We know that 8 cars has a lot of potential. And when you have a returning crew chief, Randall Burnett having the same spotter as last year, a lot of returning parts. Returning sponsors, returning people, returning crew chief. You have a new driver, maybe even have a better driver with Kyle Busch instead of Tyler Reddick. A lot of good things are happening for the 8 team in 2023. I think Kyle Busch, like I said, will have a second coming next year. Get back to the old Kyle Busch that we're used to seeing out in victory lane, taking a bow against the crowd. I believe we're going to see more of that next year. But what about Kyle Busch's old manufacturer, Toyota? They've had a lot of changes. We know that they're going to have Ty Gibbs replace Kyle Busch in the rebranded 54 car in the Cup Series next year. But what about the Xfinity Series next year? With Ty Gibbs gone, Brandon Jones going from the 19 Toyota to Junior Motorsports, replacing Noah Gragson, Who's going to take over the 3 rides at Joe Gibbs Racing? Well, they've also been announced. The 18 car will be replaced by Sammy Smith. Now, Sammy Smith has competed in a few Xfinity races last year and actually ran really strong, was in contention to win at Martinsville before being taken out by his teammate Ty Gibbs. Also in those 9 races, he scored 1 top 5, 3 top 10s with a best finish of 3rd at Watkins Glen. There is some potential with Sammy Smith, so I'm very excited to see what he can do next year in the 18 car, and we'll have a Pilot Flying J behind as a sponsor, which is good to see that they will be funded throughout the season. And taking over the 20 car full-time next year will be John Hunter Nemechek. Now, John Hunter Nemechek, we saw him take a very weird route going from Front Row Motorsports in the Cup Series back down to the Truck Series with Kyle Busch Motorsports. Now him being a Toyota driver gets elevated to the Xfinity Series to drive for Joe Gibbs Racing. Now he has a real good shot at competing for an Xfinity Series championship next year. Very excited to see what he can do. Just hope he doesn't hook any other drivers into the wall like what he did at IRP. We know how good he is. He won 13 races in the trucks. Surprised he didn't win a championship, but was very close to it, as well as won 2 Xfinity races during his time. So we know he can win. We know he can win in the Xfinity Series level, and this will be very interesting to see how Joe Gibbs Racing goes without having, Kyle Busch there, because even, Kyle Busch still was part of the Xfinity Series, program, ran some races or the max that he was allowed. So to be able to have Kyle Busch no longer be there, very interested to see how that Toyota program continues on, since Kyle Busch is such an integral part of Toyota's rise in NASCAR. Having Sammy Smith and John Nemechek, I think they're both very talented race car drivers. And it's very interesting, this new Xfinity Series pool of drivers for next year. With Gibbs gone, Gregson gone, so many of these top drivers, Allmendinger's gone. Now you're seeing drivers like Sammy Smith, John Hunter Nemechek, all guys are still there, Josh Berry. You're now starting to see Brandon Jones on the 9 car, seeing these new contenders coming into the Xfinity Series next year. It will be a lot different than what we're used to seeing, but otherwise still be very entertaining. Which makes the 19 car last up for grabs. Now usually it was the 18 car that was the all-star car, but now it's going to be the 19 car. And their first signee for the 19 car will be Ryan Truex, who will compete in 6 Xfinity races for the 19 team next year. Now Truex already ran 5 races for the team in 2022, scoring the top 5 in 3 of those 5 races, including a 3rd place finish at Atlanta. Now with it being an all-star race car, obviously there'll be other drivers that'll be announced later on in the future. Hopefully Trevor Bayne is one of those drivers, since he ran extremely well in that 18 car last year. Hopefully he's able to return next year with having some sponsorship backing behind him, because I think he is a talent that is ready to compete for an Xfinity Series championship. I think him being at Joe Gibbs Racing in a Toyota would be perfect for him to have like a second career, second coming again in his NASCAR career. So hopefully he's able to have a shot back in the Xfinity Series next year, albeit at a limited schedule. And finally, the other Toyota team in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, Sam Hunt Racing, announced their lineup for 2023. A full-timer and a part-timer. Driving the 26 Toyota car full-time next year will be Kaz Grala. Now, Kaz Grala is another driver I feel like that has potential to do great things. We saw what he did, I believe it was a few years ago, when he was driving for, I believe it was Fury race cars, and they were actually putting on some really strong runs in the middle of the season, but they had no sponsorship, they had no funding, and they had to close up shop, at least for the Xfinity program. We know Kaz Grala has been to victory lane, won at Daytona the Truck Series a few years ago, and in his very first Cup Series start with no practice whatsoever, finished in the top 10 for Richard Childress Racing on the Daytona road course. So he has talent, he has potential. And Sam Hunt Racing, although it's not a top Xfinity team, there's a lot of potential in that program. I think having a driver like Kaz Grala coming into that team, coming into that race car, will do a lot for that team in 2023. And driving the 24 car part-time in 2023 for 20 races will be Connor Mozak, who is trying to build on his stock car career. He competed in the Cars Tour Series, was the 2020 Cars Tour Rookie of the Year, and race-winning championship contending contender in the Pirelli Trans Am TA2 Series before making the move to NASCAR in 2022. Competing in 2 Truck Series races and 2 Xfinity races, including a top 15 finish for the team at Watkins Glen in August. So yeah, a lot of movement going on with that team. So yeah, a lot of movement going on with not only trucks we saw, but also Xfinity and Cup. Hailie Deegan, there's also that rumor that maybe she may be going to Thor Sport Racing. We'll have an update on that when that announcement has been hasn't made available yet, but lots of movement for 2023. Very excited to see what goes on with that Toyota program, with having Sammy Smith and John Hunter Nemechek as your full-time driver lineup. Excited to see what Kaz Grala can do, and everyone's going to be looking at see what Kyle Busch can do in that 8 car in 2023. Very excited of that, but what are your thoughts on it? Let me know in the comments section down below on Kaz Grala, on Kyle Busch, on Toyota's driver development program with Joe Gibbs Racing and Sammy Smith, Ryan Truex, maybe Trevor Bayne, and John Hunter Nemechek. Again, let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Until next time, my name is Jett from MDK. Thanks for watching.